Welcome to the Catalyst for Growth podcast, a place where we talk about everything under the sun regarding the journey of the professional salesperson. Welcome the host of the C4G Sales Success podcast, John Kailunas II. Take it away, big guy.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Catalyst for Growth. Today, I'm pretty excited. We have Rob Belcoure. We're in lovely New Jersey, the Garden City. I was telling Rob a little bit about as we were prepping my first foray when I was a child into coming to New Jersey, and my experience has changed over the years. I love coming here. I love going into the city and spending time. It's just a whole different way of life. So I appreciate you coming here and sharing your life experiences, Rob.
My pleasure. I appreciate you having me on. It's an honor to be here, John. Thank you so much.
We're going to have some fun today. We're going to talk a little bit about your journey and a little bit about Cornerstone. In full disclosure, Rob clears his group, Cornerstone, clears through Regal. He works with an IMO that we're very friendly with and and have been affiliated with for many years. And he's built his own business and a really great practice. And there's a lot of the purpose of this podcast is to get better a little bit every day. And as you're commuting, as you're listening to this, you're going to pick up some nuggets from Rob. He's got a big heart and a deep soul. And I thought this would be an excellent way to sort of us just to sit down and chat about the business, where it's going, how you feel about it. So let's start from the journey. How'd you start in this? It's sort of a crazy business to be in.
Yeah, it is a crazy business.
So just tell me a little bit about the start of Cornerstone and where you're at today.
So I think the start was this. I was heavily involved in investing in real estate. In 2008, there was a correction. Let's call it a correction. And so because of that correction, I had to reinvent myself and find out what I wanted to do. I went to a independent operation, which kind of taught me about life insurance. And
you're more safe money focused than
100%.
Yeah. You do more annuities, and when I'm talking about annuities, you'll do your organization about $55 million, won't you, this year in 2024?
That's correct. Yeah.
Or I should say in 2024. And you'll do about $1.5 million in life, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that's not even counting what you do on the AUM side. So with us, you do a ton of business, and it's because you built something. So, you went through that initial training phase, or let's say introduction into the industry. And what did you see different?
Yeah, I saw that we were very, very one-sided. We only had like one arrow in our quiver. And then we moved from life insurance to the fixed index annuities, and then moved to the AUM and realized how important the 65 is and how important it all is for a holistic plan and for our clients.
Well, what is your average client?
Average meaning AUM or average?
No, average person. What's their background? I mean,
good.
Because I think one of the things that's your secret sauce is you know who you are. And we've talked about this podcast, not with you, but with other guests, about authenticity. And you are who you are. You are Rob Belcuore, and this is what you stand for. This is what you believe in. That authenticity, I think, translates in some of your niche markets.
Yeah. So without a doubt, I don't know if I coined the phrase, but I'm going to take credit for it. We are.
Wait, you only take credit for it if we don't get sued.
Okay.
If we get sued, I'm going to throw you right under the bus.
So if we get sued, John's got more money than I. So see his attorneys. So we call it, we service middle America. We are a middle America firm. And what that means is you're not poor, but you're not really, really rich. Our target market is, we love Local 177, which is the UPS truck drivers here in New Jersey. We love Local 125. That's Pepsi and Coca-Cola. We also have a branch for the firefighters in the state of New Jersey. So you're middle America. That's what I am. That's what I was raised on, and that's what I want to serve. Hardworking
people.
Yep.
That have means, but it's by many years of accumulation. It's not a get-rich quick scheme to work that hard all those years. So, me being, from Detroit, maybe that's one of the things we resonate from, because Detroit is a union city. We have several relationships, at Regal with unions. We have several reps that work at it, but none to the extent that you do and your team does. What do you find? You said that's who you are, and that's who you serve. Define that a little bit. What do you mean that's who you are and who you serve?
Yeah, it's a good question, right? So when I say it's who I am, is I feel very comfortable around that population. I think they wear their emotions on their sleeves. I'll tell you this. It almost makes me laugh. When I serve some of these guys from the local, they'll bring me a bottle of scotch. And I'm like, no, guys, I'm supposed to bring you the bottle of scotch. They're so thankful.
Actually, if they're listening, they can mail me the bottle of scotch. I'm in Tampa, so mail it to me.
So I just love the attitude. And I think it's really about the appreciation in helping them because they're so blinded going in. They really don't have it. They're hardworking men and women. They work their butts off, right?
Well, it's a whole different world. And from their perspective, I assume it can be overwhelming and maybe intimidating at times.
Good point.
Or just not comfortable because it's so far out of their bailiwick, right? So you take sort of complex issues and make them easy for them to understand. And then help them implement it, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. One of our key factors is that our process is the beauty to the software is the beauty's in its simplicity, right? So confused people don't make a decision. So if I'm talking to husband and wife, I'm always saying to the wife, the biggest compliment you could pay me is you're walking out of here understanding your retirement model.
And a lot of people, when they hear simple, they don't think it's sophisticated. But what we're talking about is that you articulate the message simply. It's delivered simply. It's not that it's not that you haven't uncovered every stone or looked at everything. I mean, because I know how you interact with our process, the Pro Plan Assist, and it's very comprehensive what we do, but you put it in the way you present it, I think is genius. And, I've said this before on this podcast, we're looking at our phones, right? And all given time, we have more information now available than any time in history.
Yeah.
And getting information, you used to have to pay for it.
Yes.
Now, it's everywhere. As a matter of fact, we have too much information.
Yeah. It's the cheapest commodity, right?
Before
it was expensive. Now you just Google it.
Now it's the interpretation of that information. I think that's what you do with your playbook. Explain what the playbook is. If you're an advisor and they come under your producer group, they can come in as an outside broker, right?
Yep.
Hang their own shingle, do all of that, or they can work under the Cornerstone moniker. And explain those two differences.
Yeah. So we have two tracks or two companies. One is my own book of business, which you've been very, very inspirational in helping me out, right? CWA, Cornerstone Wealth Associates, big help. And that's my book of business, and that's what I call the internal. That model's a little different. There's certain positions that we're looking for that we recruit to, servicing advisors versus lead advisors. But for today's purposes is, how could we take a broker, independent young man or woman that doesn't want to work in a career shop, sick and tired of the terrible payout, sick and tired of the culture over there?
Well, I grew up in a career shop, and that's one of the reasons why I started my own firm. Because I think when you listen to all these podcasts and you hear people, you'll see that frustration. This is America, and you want the American dream to sort of, go out on your own, and it's so difficult to do it in this industry with any scale if you don't have some type of system or process around you.
Yeah. So on that side of the fence, I think what we did, and I won't say perfect, but I would say close to excellence, is we developed a duplicatable, repeatable, proven sales process. Okay. So that process we're training on that process. We have proprietary software that goes along with that. And it really just talks about, going up the mountain, right? Going up the mountain to going down the mountain, and then the pitfalls and what we could protect against. And again, the beauty's in its simplicity, not simple, but you're right. And I like that verbiage. The beauty's in, regurgitating it to the client that may not be so sophisticated, because I think it's at times, John, we have all these degrees and all these letters around. Clients don't care about that.
They care about the absolute value of where they're going to end up, and if they're going to end up in a good place. 100%. They don't want to be in their kid's basement. They don't want to be stressed. They want to be able to have the liberty to make their own choices.
And they'll only care when they know you care more, right? People don't care how much you know, but they care about how much you care for them.
One of the first things, do you remember how you described yourself to me when we first met?
Heavy, overweight.
No, that was me. No, you described yourself as an educator.
Yeah.
And that you were a school teacher and, football coach, played college football, all that, and that you really enjoyed educating and helping people.
Yeah.
Now, take that and sort of go back and what we were just talking about. It explains everything, doesn't it?
It really does. I got to tell you, sometimes I sit in bed at night, I'm like connecting the dots where the good Lord has taken me. So looking back, I'm like, I spent 18 years as a school teacher. And one of the subject matters that I have a master's degree in is teacher of the handicap, which is really a special education degree.
Yeah.
And one of the jobs was to take the complicated, digest it, regurgitate it out so a young student could understand it in a basic form. So what I've done is I've taken that skill set, right? So I don't sit here and tell you I'm the greatest advisor. I sit here not even by close, but I know how to talk to the middle America to make them be able to digest what we're talking about. They don't need to know 900 different annuities or, 60-40, whatever all those. Mm-hmm. They just need a plan and that you're going to hold their hand through that plan. So I think the teaching background on my side has helped me. And then the coaching has allowed me to recruit some good players for us, because we're in a partnership and I love that.
Yeah. You've got some good people around you. We were talking a little bit about this and it's going to get a little off topic here, but since I own the podcast, we can do what the hell I want. Tell me about how faith plays your role in helping people and advising people.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And again, the audience can say this isn't pre-scripted. We're just going with it and sort of talking.
Oh, yeah. So just in a cliff note version, 2008, I economically got really hurt and I lost about $20 million worth of real estate.
Okay.
$20 million worth of real estate just went up and poof. So at times I was really going through a lot and I was trying to figure out what's my purpose? Why am I here? A couple people said, you were better off staying in bed and not doing anything, right? All that work, right? Yeah. I agreed with it at the time. Now I don't because I learned a lot. Does that make sense though?
No, you learn, failure can be the greatest lesson in life.
Oh, no question.
And you can take it, you can tell you're an ex-athlete, right? You could be in a play, you line up again, you go again. Especially if you're a defensive lineman, you just keep going. Yeah. You know you're not going to get the quarterback most of the times, but when you do, you change the game.
Yeah. But it was devastating. And so something started to reach into my soul to say, what is it all about, right? Like, I think sometimes we don't, as men, type A and trying to produce, work. We don't have time to ponder these things. And I became a little bit of a philosopher. Like I started reading about, Socrates, like a life unexamined is not life worth living.
I'm a huge Stoic philosopher.
It's great.
I love Stoic philosophy.
And one of the reasons why I started becoming is I went to Greece and I went to the top of Athens and these men would go up there and just think. That's a different thought process when you're coming from New Jersey and everything's just go. Drive the donkey up the mountain as hard as you can.
Did you just said people in New Jersey don't think?
No. Well, some do. I wasn't in that category in 2008. I was just going, right?
Yeah.
So how did the faith come in? Well, it allowed me to step back. And I think the good Lord put a couple people in my place that molded me and shaped me throughout this time. And then what I think what happened was he gave me a new sense of purpose. So I'm without a doubt, I called this Cornerstone for a reason. The good Lord is referred to the cornerstone in the scripture. And so I figured I was just going to honor him and work for him and help other people, right? You said something the other day on our call, right? You're coaching me, you're tutoring me, and I'm so thankful for that. It shifted from the commission to a mission. But I have it written down and I don't want to botch it. You tell me.
I said, you first work for income and then you work for impact.
Bingo.
Yeah. And that's where I'm at, at the end of my career. I'm trying to help people. This is the greatest business in the world if you're good at it.
Yeah.
And there's so many nuances to be good at it. And that's what we want. We want little pieces, little nuggets that we can give people to help them get better each and every day.
It's not easy.
It is not easy. The first 5 to 10 years in this business, you're woefully underpaid. It's horrible. It's a get rich slow scheme. It is.
You got some good ones.
It is tough.
Get rich slow scheme.
And then after that, you get paid for those countless hours. I remember I had a sales manager who I was in the office all the time. And he's like, what are you doing on the weekends and everything? And it's like, I'm reading. I'm trying to get everything I possibly can. I'm trying to, I didn't really have a mentor. So it's like, I trying to grasp everything. And, I tried a lot of things that failed. And if you don't take a lesson from your failure, you're never going to understand, the joy in a victory.
I'm going to give a shout out to Coach Tom Jackson, who coached me in 1969. He played for Paterno. He won the first national championship Penn State ever won. I was blessed to play for him. And he was a captain in 69. He'd say that the only constant in life is change.
It's true.
It's the only, and all we could do is get better every day. So I'm just trying to get better every day. How about you?
No, that's exactly why I'm here. And that's, why we created the Catalyst for Growth, is to help other people get better. We're seeing overall in the industry, I think, a lack of focus and not a lack of talent, but a lack of applying talent in the right way to help people.
Focus.
These young kids coming out of school are really talented. They're smarter than I was. But they're just not focused. They don't know what to work at. They don't know how to work at it. They don't know how to help clients. They have a very much lower sense of emotional intelligence than you and I did coming out.
Why is that, John?
I think it's because we were raised.
Because I see what you're saying.
We were raised differently. I mean, look at, you've raised 3 daughters. I've raised 2 kids. My kids were not raised the way I was, right? Every parent's dream is to make your children, give them a better childhood than you have. And I've succeeded in that. But they're not the same kids that I was. I grew up with a fear of failure. I was going to be successful because I didn't want to be where I'm at. I was so afraid. I got an opportunity to go to a private boarding school, and I got to see how some kids lived and what they did on the home weekends versus what I did. And I'm like, I want that. And I realized if I was going to do, my mom was a teacher, right? My dad was an insurance guy.
I didn't know your mom was a teacher.
Yeah, my mom's retired 34 years, public schools.
Wow. She's still alive, John?
Yep. She lives with me.
Oh,
I moved her into Tampa. Yeah, so I'm an only child. So
can I move in with you, John?
You'd be a lot more fun than my mom. We would have all those 3
I don't know
bottles
if
of scotch.
Are we let that fun in?
Out of those 3 bottles of scotch, we'd be going through those. My mom doesn't drink a lot of scotch.
I do owe you a couple of those, yeah.
But no. So I saw that I had to change, and it was out there. I just didn't know how to get there. So the way I did it is I just ran into everything. I was the dumb bull that just kept running into the pen door until I broke it down, and eventually I got out of the pen. Right, and you just keep you keep pounding away, and I failed at a lot of things, and I think that's one of the secrets to my success. Michael Jordan always tells people, they always talk about how great he is. He always talks about the shots that he missed. Everyone talks about the game-winning shot here, the game-winning. He's like, there's that famous speech he gives about all the failure he had, and you're like, what did Michael Jordan ever lose at? When you're watching him, he was always winning. What do you ever lose at? Yeah,
I think it ties into Babe Ruth. Everybody talks about he hit the most home runs, but he actually owns the strikeout record too. He owns both, which is odd. I think I think you're right. The fear of failure has definitely motivated me, but I've changed that a little bit. I'm trying to.
Yeah, and I don't think that's necessarily healthy. Right?
It's a good point.
I don't think it's necessarily healthy. That's what worked for me. My kids don't have that fear of failure.
Yeah.
My kids are sort of in a race with themselves and trying to be the best that they possibly can be. I got a kid that's got a DNP from Florida. She undergrad at Marquette, and my son, played collegiate Division I lacrosse. He went to University of Detroit. He's got his master's at Michigan State, and now he's in a doctorate program. And you're like, I never would have thought about that.
Yeah, it's great.
So, and that's a lot from his mom. I mean, my kids both, when they write my thank you notes on Mother's Day, the thanks for keeping me alive and keeping Dad from killing me. That's the messages my kids give my wife on Mother's Day. But let's talk about the playbook you created and why that, if an advisor's listening and he's looking for somebody, and your producer group is nationwide, right?
Yeah, I would say,
but predominantly East Coast focused.
East Coast,
but you have advisors that I know you have some in Florida,
North Carolina. Yeah.
So, how is the playwork? Because I've gone through your playbook, and that's the first thing before I started looking to work with you. I'm like, where's this guy at? What's his temperature? And you sent that to me, and I'm like, wow, he's got a lot figured out.
Wow, John, I don't think you ever told me. I appreciate that, buddy.
So, no, it is. It's really well done. And, your process focus, you already told the audience.
100%.
And clients, see, I think advisors I'm going to jump down a little rabbit hole here. Advisors make a mistake. They don't talk about their process. They need to sell their process because the client wants to know that they can go from A to B to C to D and they're taken care of in the whole way and that it's going to be an ongoing relationship. Where a process, you keep on repeating it, right? Because the world's changing. So we keep repeating the process to make sure that you are in the right spot, Mr. and Mrs. Client. And I think they talk so much about a product or their service that they miss what the client's listening to. The client doesn't care about your standard deviation, your beta, your alpha. What they care about is if they're going to be able to retire and do the things that they want to do. Yeah. Right? They've sacrificed all these years. So let's talk about the playbook. Get out of this little rabbit hole I took us in. Now let's talk about the playbook.
Yeah. So I appreciate you, Tina, but I appreciate you giving such a compliment on the playbook because it did take a lot of time. It took multiple years.
It's a lot of work.
It was a lot of work. Yeah. And I think that it needs to be modified constantly. But for the most part, we've got structure there. We got the frame there. And it's absolutely process driven. And so what I've come to realize is we absolutely have a base of the sales process down, but you know where we're struggling? Onboarding process. Never even dawned on me. We need a process to onboard. We need a process to onboard independent advisors, and we also now need a process to onboard new people. We got a new guy coming in. He's getting to 65. He's retired from the business, wants to come back. He's going to take a sales servicing advisor role.
Yep.
Perfect role. We talked about it. So I'm going through on how to onboard him. And one of my guys said, well, what about this? And so I brought it over to Bobby Esposito. He's like, oh yeah, that should go to Regal. So I was like, oh, perfect. Right. That would be Regal's part.
Yeah, we have a very defined onboarding and offboarding.
So we should bolt it to it.
Exactly.
Just bolt it right to it. I'm not looking to recreate the wheel here, right? So, but process driven on everything. Everything.
I'm a big believer. Your client experience and your broker experience, how they dictate onboarding will dictate a lot of the relationship with you.
I want to be taking notes. Can I get taking notes? Because I think you're right. I'm serious.
Why don't you listen to the podcast and like us?
I could do that.
Link it, yeah. You're still going to sit in traffic in New Jersey, so you might as well listen to us.
Done. Yeah.
How much did your wife play in your role of building this?
Yeah, Rainey, right? Lorraine, I'll tell you this, John. You will find out a lot about a woman by the way you lose a lot of money to see if they hang around. My wife, I think some people look at us, right, maybe in church and they don't realize what we've gone through and how I could get emotional on this, right? So I think maybe at times in the past I took my wife for granted on a lot of stuff, John.
I think we do as type A personalities.
Yeah.
And you don't really show enough gratitude in the day to day. And I've really, you know who's helped me with that? My son.
Wow.
My son always says, Dad, you're always rushing from point A to point B.
Yeah.
He says, you got to live in the present. You built a hell of a business. You did this. And I'm like, shut up. We got this to do. And he's like, that's exactly it.
It's funny you should say that.
So he's teaching me a little bit.
It's so great.
That kid's got that figured out. He says, it's like one day he was at IMG, right? And I'm watching them after the game they won. They blew somebody out. They're down in Bradenton, Florida in lacrosse. And he's there, and all his teammates are walking away. They all high-fived. They hugged each other, right? They said they shook hands to the opposing team. And he took his helmet, and he walked to the opposite end of the field. And I go, and they always let the parents down. So I'm going down to see him, and I walk out. He's all by himself, and he goes, I just realized I'm 18 years old, and it's never going to get better than this.
I took it in. He took it in.
He goes, here I'm playing for IMG. Look at these facilities. I'm going to go play in Division I, and they don't have these facilities. Yeah. He goes, I'm playing with all Americans. I mean, he goes, it's never going to get any better than this. And I was trying to teach him at that point, like, hey, you're not peaking out.
Yeah.
But I misinterpreted it. He was enjoying that moment and that special time.
Do you think we struggle? I know this is your podcast, but I like to ask some questions back. Do you think as type A,
you're sort of a bully taking over my podcast here? I mean, I got everybody here in New Jersey, so this is you got one Midwest guy who lives in Tampa, and all of a sudden I'm getting pushed around. Holy moly!
Well, my question is this, because
and you don't stop, you just keep going. Go ahead,
because I really want to know. Because I think do you struggle with this, the balance between being that type A, take the hill, right? But then listening to your son, right? Because my daughter does the same thing. My oldest, Faith, she gets to me. She's like, Dad, do you think that's the right way to talk to Mom? And I'm like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? So similar. Yeah. But how do we fight between the type A, what's moving next?
Well, first, let me interrupt.
Yeah.
Faith obviously learned the right way from someone. So she probably learned it in your house.
Yeah.
But she also understands in the heat of the motion or the passion of the moment that you strayed from what you've taught her to do.
Wow. That's what I needed to hear. Yeah.
No, but you think about it. Makes sense. She didn't pick it up just because.
Yeah, same thing with your son. I'm assuming the same thing.
Yeah. Your parent, you learn how to deal with your spouse a lot from the nuclear home environment.
Yeah.
So
thanks for answering my question, John.
Well, I didn't. So let's get back to the question. I'm dropping a pearl here to you, and you just scuff it off, right? So let's get back to your question.
So how do you defend? How do you keep it in balance? You're a charge guy. I admire you. You're a Nick Saban type. I'm reading his book, and and then how do you say, hey, let's celebrate some victories, right? But not too much, because we got to get back to it. How do you balance that? How do I balance that?
I never celebrate victories.
Nah,
I never do. Yeah. I celebrate moments. Okay. I look for that perfect moment. I look for perfection in the world.
Yeah.
Which is impossible for a human being to attain.
Yeah.
But us to strive for it. That's why we're doing this podcast, why we're sharing this, is so people can get better in what they do. You see perfection in small things. Maybe it's a flower, right? Maybe it's a great meal or a great moment. When you have that deja vu moment, it's like, wow, I've been here before. And you have those moments, and I cherish those. But I think one of the things that people they oversell themselves is that there is a work-life balance when you start this business. There is none. And I think we should quit bullshitting ourselves that it is.
Yeah.
When you come into this business, you gotta really work.
Yeah.
And you gotta do a lot of things that you don't like.
I agree.
Knowing that if you do those,
yes, you
won't have to do them in the future.
Yes, sir.
But in the beginning,
agreed.
You better shovel those manure stalls.
Yeah.
And it's tough.
Yeah. You're spot on.
And then after that, you can have the income and you can have the luxury, you can have the time. I still put in, I've got a large staff, and we're going to do, we have about $3.5 billion under management with a broker deal and RIA.
Amazing.
I still work Saturdays.
Yeah.
And my wife's like, what are you doing? Now, if I'm going shooting or hunting or something, and I break it up, maybe I'll take off a Tuesday afternoon and do that, but I'm still putting in about 60 hours a week.
Oh, I know you are. You're a workhorse.
I do, because
but it's not 90 anymore.
No, it's not 90.
Yeah.
But the first, it was brutal. And my kids suffered some of it, right? My wife suffered the relationship. She looked at me and she's like, when is this ever going to end? And I'm like, oh, the next 2 years. That's, if you're listening, never tell your spouse it's going to a time frame. Never. Because they always bring that up, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah. Deb's like, I think we're on our 6 2-year, just 2 years from now deal.
They're just extensions, Debs. We just need some extensions.
Exactly. Just rolled it forward. So yeah, I think, to take that moment. And the other thing I've done is I schedule it now. And I know that seems so insincere and unthought.
You're spot on.
But if I don't schedule, I'm still working out again. So if I don't put it in my calendar to go work out,
100%.
all of a sudden it doesn't there's another crisis. There's a crisis going on right now that someone needs my attention, at least my perception.
Sure.
That I've got to, type A's always have to be in the conflict, right?
Yeah.
So there's something going on right now that needs my immediate attention. But nothing's more important than spending time with you and the listening audience right now. And if I didn't schedule that, I wouldn't be here. I'd be distracted.
Yeah.
So I schedule date night. I try to go. We try to pick a new restaurant every week to go to.
Yeah.
We take a happy hour, or we go do stuff. I've got hunts scheduled with my kids. I've got my daughter's a huge hockey fan. So we're doing the original 6. So we're going to Montreal this year. So I schedule that. So her and I, just the daddy-daughter, she's 29, but still a daddy-daughter trip to go to Montreal. So if I don't schedule those, I will lose that whole month, and then I lose a year, and then I lose all those memories with my kids that, and we've done all the goofy stuff from the Griswold family vacation, 3 weeks out west. We drove and back. That was a great one. There's a couple times I almost committed crimes. I could have been on a Dateline 2020 with my kids. Like, wah! My wife's like, slow down. I think we need a break. Yeah. I'm like, I'm going to break both of their necks.
We had one of those.
Yeah. It's just great.
Yeah.
And now we all laugh about it.
Yeah,
but,
we do too. Every one of them, I had three daughters in the car. Each one of them had a breakdown at a different time. Like just like crazy, kicking the ceiling and just out of their minds. We laugh about it now. I was like, who's next? Who's next on the emotional breakdown in the car into Florida?
Yeah. We had several of those, I believe.
Those are good.
Now that you can laugh about them, you cherish actually those moments. And, my kids have been all around the world. They've done incredible things, and they're very young, and they're going to do incredibly more things. But I think it's because they've seen a lot of my failures in the beginning of not spending time, not doing it. And then I became the guy that if my kid was playing, I'd fly out to see him, and I'd fly back that night. I'd be at a conference. Yeah. And leave the conference and come back to it. Because, I promised them I'm going to be there, and it was the, league finals or whatever. So I think that's important. I think that leads to your authenticity. And I don't think you can be a good advisor. You can't be a fiduciary and truly put people's best interests if you're not authentic in who you are.
Yes.
And that you can identify the needs of people.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Taking that in is to be the true fiduciary, you got to know who you are and what you're willing to do to help them. Going back to the playbook, and I appreciate you answering that because it's helping me. Like, for you guys that are watching at home or listening online, is John's always mentoring me and helping me, and I appreciate that. So sometimes I feel like I'm asking you the questions only because I really want better answers for me to build my business and emulate what you have done, which is just tremendous in a short period of time, John.
Thank you.
I think we talked about this, not to get off track, but I think we were in Asheville and I finished your book. And I'm like, John, why are you not giving this book out? Yeah. I think you had said to me, Rob, maybe embarrassing is not the right word, but maybe self-promoting. And I'm like, John, you spelled out how to do it.
I've never mentioned my book on this podcast.
Well,
just
that's
right
why,
there. That's really nice.
It's 100%.
You're not getting any royalties on that, by the way.
I appreciate that. Maybe lunch.
Maybe you get a bottle of scotch one day.
No, but all kidding aside, right? That book spells out how you did it and how you grew it. And look, you just said you never mentioned it. I understand that because it sounds like you're promoting your book. But hey, guys, if you're on here, get the book. And I do apologize. The name of the book
is Choices and Chances.
Choices and Chances.
And
Jesus.
I wrote it.
Yes.
I wrote it.
I love the title.
I wrote it 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So
it's prevalent today.
We were 450 million. And when we talked about Babe Ruth earlier, I sort of called the shot. I was like, we're going to do this, and this is how we're going to do it. And it was all relationship oriented stuff. And it's nothing new, guys. I'm not a genius. I didn't discover anything. I just sort of put things together. I cobbled it together that works well for a kid that came from the Midwest. Yeah. That's all I did.
It's fantastic. Go back to the playbook. So one of the things that I am really,
I could just leave here. You could interview yourself. This is pretty.
Well, you
good.
asked me about the playbook, so I was just.
Holy moly! Look at this guy, New Jersey guys. Holy moly!
Is the hard calendar?
We're gonna get people to be like, get that New Jersey guy. There'll be the California people that won't like it.
Too bad. But the hard calendar is in the playbook. I'm always telling my advisors, if you don't master a hard calendar, you don't schedule it. We literally have date night in the playbook. We have, you got to be working out, right? Body, soul, and mind. So that's another part.
I know your meetings are very hardwired into your schedule. I mean,
100%.
There are times that when I've tried to get back to you and you're like, I've got this meeting, I got to be there, boom, boom, boom. And it takes precedent over, and I admire you for that.
I appreciate that.
You know, it's making a commitment not only to your whole organization, but more importantly, making a commitment to yourself.
Because otherwise you get yo-yoed around, right? You got to be doing the same thing.
Oh yeah. All the time, you know, I mean, my phone is going off, you know, advisor, we had an advisor that, you know, lost their father and wanted to sort of talk to somebody. And, you know, it happened to be a Saturday morning. There's nothing more important to me at that particular time than trying to help somebody through a difficult time.
That one you got to take.
But, you know, if you're in a career shop, they don't take it.
Yeah, no.
So, where do you want to see Cornerstone go? Where's your leadership taking the organization?
So on the broker side, I truly believe on the broker side, we could do $100 million in fixed index annuities over the next 2 years. So I'll talk numbers and then I'll talk vision. The second, I think on the AUM side, we should be able to cumulatively over the next 2 years, I think we talked about maybe upwards of 75 million. Okay. Vision wise.
I'm counting on it. Otherwise, you're never going to be on another podcast.
I think vision wise is I truly believe I have the recipe to take a middle advisor and double their business.
All right. You're an ex-jock. Let's go to a 1 to a 5-star rating. You can take a 2-star and make them a 3?
100%.
All right.
100%.
So
if they listen and they're coachable.
Okay.
Yeah. You got to be coachable. If you're not going to be coachable, I can't do it.
So what type of commitment is that? I mean, we talk about coaching. How often are you coaching these guys?
Every Friday.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your structure.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I think that's real important.
So our structure works like this. Every Monday is a red day. You should be planning, pending, setting your appointments. Monday is a red day. It's set up the week, push the pending, do your planning. Don't try to do appointments and planning at the same time. Too many advisors like, oh, I got a meeting today and then I'm doing planning. I'm like, it's two different mindsets. Yes.
You're exactly right. It's very wise. You don't get into a rhythm.
There's no rhythm. And the new guys come on and they want to do it their way. So that's a Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, focus on clients. Green days. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. I am preaching 4, 4, and 4. That's how many appointments? That's 8. It's 12. 12 appointments. You got to push 12 appointments because it also comes down to a numbers game. So you should be able to do 4, 4, and 4. Friday morning, we have a team training. We post the numbers. We're very competitive. If you're competitive, you want to see the numbers, which is what we talked about on Friday. I need the AUM numbers. Yep. We got the fixed index. We got the life. Okay. And people love that. You know, I know they love it when they tell me, Rob, my numbers are wrong. They love, and I want that. Oh, really? Okay. Let me fix that. Right. Cause they're all tracking their numbers. So I think I only did 3 things right on that side. I did a trip, top 10 go to a vacation paid by me. Number 2, posting the numbers. And 3, highly encouraged team training. Then the Friday afternoon, now you want to get your hair cut. You want to go do the cleaners, all those errands. I understand, right? Because otherwise, if you don't give them time to do it, they're not going to do it. And here's what I'm going to tell you, and I could be wrong. You can coach me on this. They're taking Fridays afternoons off anyway, right? So
mostly they are. Yeah.
So we might as well throw in all the go around and run around and do that stuff on the Friday. Friday night, you should have your date night. Saturday, I am telling you right now, like you're working on, if you're not where you're supposed to be, you're working on a Saturday.
Yeah, if you don't hit your numbers. I've mentioned that in earlier podcasts.
100%.
You're not hitting your numbers. You've got to be working on Saturdays.
Who decided Saturday's the day off? The good Lord said Sunday, one day.
I told my wife, and I made that commitment to her. It's when I started holding myself accountable to, I think you can hold yourself accountable, but as soon as you share it with someone you care and you love and you respect, it changes the whole program.
Plus, I think that if you have a wife that's understanding, you sit down and say, honey, this is where I'm going. I'm going to take us there. I need your support. I'm going to work on Saturdays for us to get where we need to go. Now, with my wife, I will tell you this is on Friday date night, phone is down and I'm like this. because if not, then she gets it. She understands. Right. And I actually tell her, give me like 1 hour just to detox before we do the date night. Sometimes I even shut my eyes for 15 or 20 minutes so that I restore a little energy. Because by Friday, I don't know about you, I burn a lot of energy out.
Yeah, no, it's
right. So I can't focus unless I get a little rest time. So I think, and Dave Christie went around and interviewed a couple of us that were high producers. Yeah. This is what I've been doing since I've been in 9th grade. This is the way I live my life. This is what I do. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can see this. I can almost tell you, like we'll look at going back to sports. I can almost tell you the kids that went to IMG because they do the same prep. My son does the same prep that JJ McCarthy did. Mm-hmm. And they were all talking about the Michigan quarterback last year. Look how he goes to the end zone and he's doing I said, they all do that. They're all taught that.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what you're talking about. You're getting focused. You're detox. You're running through what you could have done, what you need to do, but then you're also freeing up your time and your mind for things that are very important, which is your spouse. And I get that. I think that makes perfect sense.
And I will tell you this culture is not for everybody. I'm looking for high performers. Coachable.
You got to be tough-minded.
Moral compass has got to be straight. I'm not telling you got to be like a deacon, but you got to have a moral compass and coachable moral compass. And I got to tell you this, you ready for this word? You're going to love this one. Grit. You got to have grit. A little of intelligence, right? We get that, but you got to have grit. And go back. You can't imagine how many times people will come to me and say, I just had one this week. I text them. I'm kind about it, right? Because they don't work for me. They're on W-2s, but I'm encouraging them to win at a high level. So I texted one of my guys on a Friday, wasn't on the call. I said, can I ask you a question? This is while it's going on. He's like, yeah, sure. I said, how do I get you to fully commit? ? He said, what do you mean? And I just left it at that. Because you can't imagine, I've been doing this on the side of the brokers in this training on Fridays for 7 years. I think I could count on one hand how many I missed. I missed because I may be in a flight. There's no way I can get on. There's certain things I just can't do. But I will tell you this. I've never missed because a client said to me, I need to meet with you. I don't buy.
Well, that's, we'll do another podcast together. Yeah. We need to talk about client control
100%.
because advisors.
Are you invited back on?
Well, I rented the studio, so we're going to do 2 shows. That's the only reason I'm here. Yeah. I don't have anybody else, so it's got to be you here in Jersey.
He's so good.
No, I client control. I don't think advisors do that. And when a broker does not control a client, and not in a negative way, not misleading them or misdirecting,
in love,
it's helping them, right? But when they don't control a client's behavior, it's because they don't have enough clients. And they're afraid of losing it, or they don't know what they're doing and they're not talking about their process. Because if you're talking about your process, your process takes care of your clients. So, Rob, again, it's a pleasure here to be with you in New Jersey. It's a pleasure to spend time with you. I always get something, from a selfish standpoint, I always get something from you when we work together. I appreciate you taking time for your business and your family. Yeah. And, I look for some great things for you, in our working together in the next couple of years. So
thank you for having me, John. I really mean it. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Well, you're listening to the Catalyst for Growth podcast. This is John Kailunas with Robert Belcuore, Cornerstone this week. Tune into us next week. We'll have another exciting episode. Again, all we're trying to do, it's pretty simple. Our mission statement, it is we're trying to get you as a financial service or even a sales professional a little bit better. And even if you're not in financial service, sales, a lot of the things that Robert was talking about today can be applied to you, in the craft to get you a little bit better. And if you can take just one step, in the right direction by listening to this, we've been successful. We appreciate you, listening. If you want to get any items from our website, it's catalystforgrowth.org, and the 4 is the number 4. We have some worksheets and there's some of our books that we have and all of that good stuff's on there if you want to take a look at that and have a little deep dive. If you're looking to affiliate, or you want to have a conversation with Robert about affiliating with Cornerstone, how do they contact you, Rob?
Yeah, I think, I'll give out my cell phone number. Is that,
If you like crank callers, now I don't even have that. I'll have to listen to the podcast to get the number so I can do some crank calls.
I got a lot of faith in humanity. So it's my cell phone number is if you want a conversation about anything, I'm here to help. 973-418-4841. Again, 973-418-4841. If anything I can do to help, I'm here.
Again, thank you for listening. This is John Kailunas II, and this is Catalyst for Growth.
Hey, thank you for your time today. We will have another content-packed session posted next week. Please check our website, catalystforgrowth.org, for our legal disclosures on the bottom of our homepage, if you're into that sort of thing.